Ding dong! Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's WrestleMania season, and you know what that means. At least you should, because this is the third year in a row. This time, I'm looking at the 2024 professional wrestling simulation game, WWE 2K24, developed by Visual Concepts and published by 2K in March of 2024. 2023 was a pretty big year for WWE, quite possibly their best calendar year since 2000, with the glaring exception of one of the biggest booking blunders in modern history.
Shut up, bitch!
Big shows, big money, big returns, all working together to create actual big business, making WWE the most popular it's been since the late 90s, pushing us firmly into the Renaissance era. We saw the birth of the movement, the rise of Io Sky, Trick Williams exploding in popularity, the signing of Jade Cargill, Becky Lynch becoming NXT Women's Champion for some reason. Oh yeah, and the return of CM Punk almost a full decade since he walked out of the company in 2014. So a lot of people were hyped to see these new developments in 2K24. There was also the tragic passing of Bray Wyatt back in August of 2023, with many fans hoping that 2K would honor his legacy by making him the cover star for 2K24, or at least having an edition of the game in his memory. Instead, the standard edition cover went to Cody Rhodes, the deluxe edition cover went to Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, and the collector's edition was about celebrating 40 years of WrestleMania, with a slight alteration after Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar got the Chris Benoit treatment. Though 2K would honor Bray by including his Firefly Funhouse match against John Cena from WrestleMania 36, perhaps the greatest thing he ever did in the ring.
You were supposed to be a man of the people. Then why weren't you listening?
I've come to the conclusion that 2K games just suck at advertising their games, especially the WWE games. While 2K23's advertisement was all about one match and a celebrity, 2K24 switched out that celebrity for 3 more match types for 4 in total, boasting about the addition/restoration of special guest referee, ambulance, casket, and gauntlet matches, as well as smaller changes like adding in real WWE referees, a dueling strikes minigame, a stage camera and added camera angles, super finishers, and a few more quality of life upgrades. But let's take a look at the game itself and once again rank all the different modes. I promise it won't be the exact same list as the last 2 years. Oh, and once that bell rings, make sure you give it everything we've got! Overall, I think the core gameplay is somehow weaker than it was before. It feels like wrestlers sell even less and constantly pop back up to their feet after every move. Ladder match AI was broken, maybe it still is, meaning no one would ever attempt to win the match. Multi-person matches are a lot more annoying because the AI feels the need to break up every move you do for no reason. And they altered the submission minigame to make it virtually impossible unless you want to break your fingers.
Look at it!
Originally, the submission minigame would reach a stalemate point where it would then turn in the favor of the person on defense. It doesn't do that anymore, so if you're playing on higher difficulty, you're basically screwed if you've sustained any damage. There are lots of visual issues as well. The stages still aren't as grandiose as they should be, though the WrestleMania 39 stage looks great, and it really bothers me that Visual Concepts doesn't care about properly fitting Titantron graphics to the different Trons. Then there's the wrestlers themselves. Some people like Alexa Bliss, Natalya, and Johnny Gargano are entirely unchanged from 2K23. Some teams like Gallus and the Unholy Union don't have tag team entrances, and some wrestlers like Bayley look less like the wrestlers themselves and more like a deflated costume of said wrestler. There's also a strange lack of new wrestlers in the game. There are some like Chase U, Briggs and Jensen, Fallon Henley, Bronson Reed, Stax, Gallus, and Isla Dawn, but there are way more notable exclusions like Kiana James, the rest of Metaphor to go with Noam Dar, Elektra Lopez, Lexis King, Ava, Von Wagner, Mr. Stone, Tatum Paxley, and more. Even in the DLCs, the only additional current stars are Carlito, CM Punk, Dragon Lee, Jade Cargill, Kairi Sane, Lyra Valkyria, and Nia Jax, and only 3 of those names haven't appeared in a WWE game before. But hey, we're getting all the hosts of the Pat McAfee show, so there's that.
Who are you people?
2K24 still has the base game modes of My Rise, Universe, My Faction, Showcase, and My GM. So let's start with the worst of them, and it might not be what you expect. Hey look, It's not my faction this year. I have a strong feeling that Visual Concepts don't actually care about Showcase and only do it because it's easier than adding in a new game mode. This year exemplifies that very well. It's the Showcase of the Immortals to celebrate 40 years of WrestleMania, 10 years on from when they celebrated 30 years of WrestleMania, even though this year is WrestleMania 40 and the 39th year of WrestleMania because the first WrestleMania was not WrestleMania 0. Despite the fact that it's celebrating 40 years of WrestleMania, there's only 21 matches that cover only 16 different WrestleManias.
It just don't add up!
Covering some of the all-time classics like Steve Austin vs. The Rock from WrestleMania XL and Hulk Hogan vs. Randy Savage from WrestleMania 5. Modern classics like the Firefly Funhouse from WrestleMania 36 and Roman Reigns vs. Cody Rhodes from WrestleMania 39. And then also matches like The Ultimate Warrior vs. Rick Rude and Bianca Belair vs. Asuka. For some reason. Even beyond the match choices, the matches themselves aren't fun. The objectives have gone from repeating moments from those matches to doing weirdly specific random tasks just to get to the next match clip. The most egregious one being in Randy Orton vs. Seth Rollins from WrestleMania 31. Where you as Randy Orton have to build up 3 finishers immediately after having to use a finisher to hit Seth Rollins with a punt kick specifically from the northwest corner. Usually my faction takes the bottom spot in these lists because it represents the emergence of the microtransaction cancer that could very well kill the game series as a whole, but it seems like that hasn't happened yet, so it gets a break this year. Though it would probably be in the bottom spot regardless if Showcase wasn't practically necessary. You could just skip the mode as a whole, but then you miss out on unlocking all the wrestlers and arenas included within, so it's just a chore that most people just trudge through at the start and then try to forget about. And the completion reward is terrible. You have to win a Showcase of Champions Royal Rumble from number 1 and eliminate at least 10 people. It's like if your reward for completing a challenge where you had to eat 10 cakes in under an hour was an 11th cake. No thank you. You know what's worse than something you're expecting to be bad being bad? Something you're expecting to be good being bad. And that's why the men's My Rise finds itself at number 5. Visual Concepts spent the past few years making tweaks to the format of the story mode to find their groove, and this is absolutely not it. It feels like they didn't even try, or like they had an idea for what they wanted the story to be, realized halfway through that the story they chose left very little interesting content, but didn't have enough time to scrap it and start over. The men's My Rise is all about cucking Cody Rhodes.
That just makes you a beta cuck. That's the difference between you and I, Silver the Hedgehog.
Well, actually, it's about Roman Reigns vacating his Undisputed Championship to go off to Hollywood right before he's supposed to face Cody, then you, a nobody, winning the title in a tournament and immediately tying Roman Reigns' 1,300+ day reign. Forcing Roman to come back and try to take it from you. The story idea is just bad in concept. Why is winning the title the start of the story and not the end? The tagline of the fucking game is finish the story, and we do that within an hour of starting the mode. They also didn't create nearly enough interesting content and storylines to carry the Dark Horse through his 4 years as champion, which you'll quickly notice with how many time skips there are. If Visual Concepts had more time to develop these stories, I'm sure there would be more choices that influenced where the story went and more actual interesting content in them, but as it stands right now, this was a total fumble of an easy story of rising up the ranks and becoming the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. It couldn't escape me for much longer. My faction finds itself toward the middle of the list simply for finally having a purpose, but other than that, being mostly unchanged from before and completely ignorable. WWE 2K24 introduces Persona cards to the game. No, not those ones. These Persona cards are special My Faction cards that, when obtained, unlock that wrestler for use in all other game modes as well. The 3 released as of writing this are Elite John Cena and Elite Cody Rhodes, 2 playable action figures, which is great, and Sheamus 09, which I'm almost certain they only did to get written in my face in the game. The only other 3 known as of right now are an alternate version of Trick Williams, Seth Rollins 14, and Ichiban Hulk Hogan. It's a nice touch and an actual incentive to play the mode for once.
And you've done it in such a lackluster way that no one is proud or disappointed.
Other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same. You pull cards, play a bunch of repetitive matches either against AI or other players so you can win and afford to buy more powerful cards. I just find it very boring and repetitive, especially when you can play as all these wrestlers in whatever matches you want in the regular play modes. But if Visual Concepts keep being lazy and not updating models or adding the frickin' Iron Survivor challenge, I will blame my faction microtransactions. They did add a Gauntlet Eliminator, which is pretty close to the Iron Survivor challenge, so they get a pass this year. Next year, I will not be so generous. I'd like to start this off by issuing Visual Concepts a deserved apology. Last year, I complained about my experience with Superstar mode, playing as Bayley and having my first match be against fellow Damage Control stablemate Io Sky, and how that made no sense. You could not book a more wrong match than the tag match I was given. I see now that Visual Concepts are visionaries foretelling me the future, and I was too blind to see it. My apologies. Seriously though, I don't know what Visual Concepts has against Universe mode. Go on any WWE Games YouTuber's channel and you'll see that most of their content throughout the year comes from Universe. So why does Visual Concepts refuse to change anything about it? WWE's premium live events have been on Saturdays for years now. In Universe, they can still only be set on Sundays. WrestleMania has been a 2-night event since fucking 2020 and it's still set as only one night in Universe. There is absolutely no way these are complicated changes. It can't be anything other than developer laziness and being satisfied that the mode is good enough.
Completing your job with such an efficient level of laziness that we're surprised you're able to dress yourself in the morning.
You can't just add new rivalry cutscenes every year and expect everyone to be happy with that. You need people to play this game for an entire year, so stop ignoring the mode best suited for exactly that. The quality disparity between the two My Rise stories this year is so vast that I had to make them separate entries. I was not going to let the men bog down the women, nor was I going to let the women carry the men to an undeserving position. In Unleashed, you play as the Captain, or Cap for short, which may be one of the reasons why I like this one so much, who's to say? And her story is sort of influenced by the story of Cody Rhodes, being the creator of the hottest indie promotion in the country and being offered a shot in WWE. However, she struggles to fit in and is almost fired until William Regal convinces her to experience WWE, leading to the new mechanic of Explore stories, basically being presented with 3 stories that you can complete in any order, as once you finish one, you're taken back to the hub world where the other 2 are waiting for you. And these stories are leaps and bounds better than anything that happens in the men's story. I won't spoil all of them because you should definitely play them for yourself, though my favorite is the one where you take Liv Morgan's place on a cheese-smelling show, which leads you to getting an overinflated Hollywood ego. They're all fun and just the right amount of stupid, though the Rhea Ripley one is by far the weakest. The story after those are done is interesting as well. They go certain ways that I genuinely didn't expect, and I appreciate it for that. The conclusion is satisfying as well, if a bit rushed. It's clear that they spent way more time and energy on this compared to the men's story. Hopefully Visual Concepts take notes and model the 2K25 My Rises off of this one and not the men's one. Once again, you see Visual Concepts maximizing their voice talent as there's a lot of wrestler crossover between the 2 stories. Either that or someone at the development team just really likes Gigi Dolan. My GM has dethroned My Rise as the best mode in the game this year, though it still isn't perfect. First off, they've added more GMs like Teddy Long, Paul Heyman, and Ted DiBiase for some reason, as well as adding ECW as a selectable brand. They don't have women's titles, so be warned. The biggest change is the addition of talent scouts and assets. You don't just get to sign free agents from a talent pool that changes every week. Now you have to spend money and talent scouts to find the kind of wrestler you want, then spend more money to sign them. It makes things a lot harder and it makes you consider your actions more carefully. Assets are sort of similar, though a lot more pointless. See, match types are now locked behind certain logistics levels, and unlocking those levels costs money and assets. You only get one asset a week, so it's very likely you'll have the money to afford the upgrade, but have to wait for the assets. It's a pretty annoying roadblock, seemingly only put in place to make you play through multiple seasons, but the mode is fun, so I don't mind it as much. They've also added talent levels and experience, as well as perks to go along with it, with each talent unlocking a new perk once they move up a class. Yet more encouragement to play multiple seasons and build up your roster. However, I think they change something about stamina because it depletes so fucking quick and recovers so slow this year, which is especially worrying in the early stages when you can't afford to buy more talent to fill up your show. Finally, I appreciate all the new power cards and potential talent email issues they added. It makes the game more unpredictable and keeps you on your toes, though I do wish the mode wasn't locked to 25 weeks per season. Being able to do 50-week marathons each season could be a fun challenge. Also, why didn't they update the mode to reflect the WWE 2023 calendar? Did they think we wouldn't notice? Because we did. But that about covers it, so how about we finish this story, then pass the pen off to Cody Rhodes so he can finish his. This year's game is such a mixed bag in so many ways. There are plenty of nice improvements, but then there's downgrades where there shouldn't be, issues that should have been addressed years ago, and new issues that weren't present before. I appreciate Visual Concepts continuing to add new things each year without taking things away like other sports game franchises. Like Special Guest Referee is a ton of fun, the others are take 'em or leave 'em. However, I think they sometimes fall victim to their own scope, adding in all these cool match types and new mechanics while refusing to address the problems the game already has. You don't need an architect to tell you the dangers of continuing to build upon a cracked foundation. 2K25 doesn't need a bunch of new match types and mechanics. It needs to be a thorough cleaning of all the match types and mechanics already in the game. Update everyone's character models, fix universe modes problems, make Showcase fun again. Don't waste your time getting fucking Post Malone in the game. The final score for WWE 2K24 is a 7 out of 10. It's still a solid game that can be a lot of fun, especially with friends, with a good amount of added content to justify picking up the game instead of sticking with 2K23. However, the failure to address so many issues and creating new issues in the process means I cannot rank this game on the same level of 2K23, so it falls just below it. WrestleMania 40 is all about finishing stories this year. Well, actually, it's about Cody finishing his story, while people like Chad Gable, Liv Morgan, and LA Knight have to wait to finish their story while their respective champions are busy doing side quests. But as I eagerly anticipate Bayley vs Io Sky, the tag title ladder match, and Cody being crowned the champion of light, I seem to remember that we too have a story to finish. So next time, let's put pen to paper and get to writing. I hope to see you there.
Continue?
I like to call this next segment the story of the journey of Alan Wake, the musical.